Melissa Farmer Hill. This is the place for veteran coffee chat, commentary, information, and everything in between. I want to thank you for joining me. And you know what? We don't want to waste your time here. So we are going to brew it up after this 30-second break. Be right back. And we are back. So we're going to get right into business. Now, the first things first, we're all out here grinding. So we got to keep our heads on a swivel when it comes to information for our veterans and their families. Would you agree? I thought you would. But did you know that there are over 16 million? That's right, 16 million veterans. And the truth is, not some of us, not none of us, not one of us, not all of us know everything there is to know when it comes to taking care of our military families and our veterans. So here's some information from the Shiro Round resource table that may help you. Now, the VA has added a bunch of cancers to their presumptive condition. And if you don't know what a presumptive condition is, it's just a fancy way of saying you don't have to prove it. You don't have to prove that your cancer is service related to get disability benefits. You just need to show that you served in certain areas and boom, you are in. So here's what we know that's covered so far. So you've got leukemia, you've got multiple myeloma, you've got bladder cancer, ureter cancer, you've got all of those cancers are included. And then some of the assignment locations, when you look at them, they include Iraq, Afghanistan, Kuwait, Somalia, Saudi, Bahrain, the Red Sea, the Persian Gulf, and all those surrounding airspace areas. So basically, if you were deployed to the Middle East, and then in parts of Africa or Central Asia, you more than likely will qualify. But it's not only that. What's interesting is it also covers the K2 Air Base in Uzbekistan. And for those that are questioning the K2 Air Base, thank goodness that they're covering it. It wasn't a battlefield. Yeah, we know Uzbekistan wasn't a battlefield for the U.S., but the K2 is a former Soviet air base that our troops used after 9/11. And unfortunately, it's also known as a toxic waste and radiation dump. It's they call it a soup, y'all. And they say that the VA is now recognizing that veterans who served there after 9 September 21st, 2001 are more likely to develop certain cancers. And so that's some unfortunate news. But the fortunate news is that if you so happen to serve in that area, if you so happen to have one of these cancers, that you can get help. And it's a lot easier, and thank God for that. Because for me, I really think this is such a big deal, because back in the day, when Vietnam veterans came home, they didn't have a list of presumptive conditions. They made them eligible for that made them eligible for health benefits and things like that. They suffered with severe untreated medical conditions. They were having flashbacks of nightmares, anxiety, depression, and Lord knows what else. The Vietnam War ended in 1975, I believe, officially, and it wasn't until 1980 that they even recognized PTSD as a mental health condition. But before that, they were veterans were diagnosed with personality disorders and fatigue. And guess what? Personalities and disorders did not qualify for VA benefits. So a lot of those guys were self-medicating. They were self-medicating with drugs and alcohol. And of course, when you have a mental illness or you have a medical condition and you self-medicate with drugs and alcohol, that only makes the conditions worse. And real talk, like invisible wounds are real. You can't always look at someone and tell that they have cancer. You can't always look at someone that suffers from a mental illness. And this is one of the reasons we always say, welcome home when we meet our Vietnam veterans. This honors their experience. It acknowledged that they gave so much and got so little in return. They came home. That's the important part. So if there is a Vietnam veteran that is watching Shiro Coffee Chat right now, I just want to say welcome home and thank you for your service. So, what do you need to know? Now, if this sounds like you or someone you know that is going through an experience, the first thing you need to do is file a claim with the VA. Do not wait. I repeat, do not wait. If you already have a claim pending for one of those cancers, ask for it to be reevaluated under the PACT Act, which is where all these new presumptions come from. And if you've been denied in the past, file again. I encourage you, if you've been denied in the past, file again, because this new designation could mean a different outcome for you. And also, the last thing, if you need support navigating the claims process, you can reach out to your local to our mine is in Richmond Park or the Chicagoland area, but you definitely can reach out to your local veteran service organizations. If you're part of the VFW, if you're part of any veterans organizations, there are so many organizations. I want to encourage you, do not pay anything. There's a lot of scam artists out here. Do not pay anything. Just if you don't want to do it alone, you look at that 800 number that's coming up on the bottom of the ticker. It's 800-827-1000. That's 800-827-1000. They're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do not wait, you guys, for this, especially if you've been denied, if you haven't filed, or you've been to those locations and you've had one of those diagnoses under the presumptive conditions. So don't wait. Again, call tomorrow. And so we're gonna switch. We're gonna switch into something to one of our hot stories for today. But so the president is finally being laid to rest with his next. He's finally laid to rest with his
And
beloved
before the former president's funeral,
by his side. Okay, all right, we'll get there. Let me set it up with his beloved Rosalind by his side. But the funeral was itself all the brouhaha. And what takeaways did we get? This wasn't just a funeral. I'm serious, you guys. It was a political moment. It was a political moment. And here's what I learned. President Obama will always keep it classy. He'll chat with anyone if it keeps the peace. I think the Clintons, they kept it real icy, real icy. They did not have time for fake pleasantries. Vice President Kamala, I was saying former Vice President. I haven't seen her, but she is still our Vice President. Vice President Kamala Harris, her side eye, you guys, it was really strong. She was not trying to hide her curiosity, looking in that back row. And incumbent president and former president Trump is still a polarizing figure. All eyes basically were on those two, and that's all the news. Michelle Obama was not present. I'm sure there is a reason why for her absence, but I think, hey, maybe she just wasn't feeling it being around all those people. That's just my personal opinion, and she's going to, mourn former President Carter in her own way. And then uh, Vice President Pence, former Vice President Pence, he shook President Trump's hand, and then the wife, though the wife was unbothered by President Trump's presence. She didn't even bother to shake his hand. First Lady Jill Biden is still. You've got to go to YouTube and watch these reactions. First Lady Jill Biden is still, man, she's still salty about something, and it might have been she's still salty about Vice President Harris stealing Biden's reelection run. I don't know. But she sat right next to her and quickly turned around. I don't even think she spoke from some of the footage that I've seen. It was very awkward. But let's take a look at it in this clip on body language, the reaction to the funeral. Let's take a look at it.
Funeral in Plains, Georgia. A funeral service was held this morning in Washington, D.C., with all of the former living presidents of the United States, as well as current President Joe Biden, in attendance. Now, some video clips from the service are causing a firestorm online as much of the nation paused for the funeral of the former president. Many eyes were fixated on the actions of one-time bitter political rivals. From laughter at funerals to not extending a greeting, if it could happen to the leaders of the free world, well, we're on your side with what an etiquette expert has to help guide you through potential disastrous situations.
Oh, the stories they could tell. 5 former, and one of those also a future president, gathered for the funeral of former President Jimmy Carter. And with the eyes of the nation on them, what does their body language say?
Body language is just so important. How you stand, making eye contact, open arms, making people feel warm and comfortable.
We took this question to an expert. Deborah Shore owns and operates a school of etiquette in Jacksonville and taught etiquette at the Plaza Hotel in New York City for 25 years. Mike Pence and Donald Trump appeared to have a fractured relationship in recent years, but the two men shook hands when arriving for the funeral.
Just forget about the politics and all that other stuff. This is not the time for that.
But Trump was not without his own misstep.
I was a little bit surprised that Donald did not stand up when Obama walked into the room. I think that's something that he should have done.
However, a conversation caught on camera between former presidents Trump and Obama did lead to laughter from the 44th president. Another clip making waves across the internet is when Vice President Kamala Harris takes her seat.
She's completely stone-faced. Donald Trump and Melania were there first, and I absolutely think that Kamala Harris would have been smart to have at least turned around, acknowledged them, extended her hand. Be the bigger person, take the high road.
Advice Shore says goes for more than just the leaders of the free world.
Even if it's in a situation where you're friends and family, sometimes we don't get along with everybody. Be the better person. Be warm. I think that's what this world needs a little bit more of.
All right. As you can see, and they say that, body language is like 55% of communication. And you know what? You know what I saw, you guys? I saw that, hey, some of these politicians are living rent free inside each other's head. That's clear to see it through the body language. So apparently, their reaction was just, it tells a story about how they really feel. You know how we say, tell me how you really feel. Well, that body language during that funeral was all you needed to see. Yes. All right. So don't forget, I want you to go to sherocoffee.com. You can see it in the ticker where there ain't nothing but good coffee. I tell you. And not because I am the founder of the Shero Coffee Club, but because it really is good coffee. So make sure you go to sherocoffee.com and check us out there and purchase your medium or dark roast coffee. But we're going to move on to the tip of the week. So in light of all of these California fires, those of us who are watching what's happening, I want you to let this serve for you as a wake up call, because the thing about it is fires can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. And it's a tragic thing. And while I've never been in a fire, have you ever been in a fire? I mean, the look on, it's the devastated look on someone's face when all that they've worked for or all that they have is just burned to the ground. That is really devastating, you guys. And we are all definitely praying and supported. But today I wanted to share with you a tip of the week, and that is emergency. That is the emergency checklist. Everyone should have an emergency checklist. And these are documents that you can use or that you may need in case of a fire. And you can keep it, you can buy those little fireproof locks. They have little fireproof locks, or you can keep it, of course, in the cloud or scanned or just stored. So here are some of the checklist items, and I will definitely leave a link for this down in the comment section. But your things that are important for emergencies: birth certificates, passports or visas, home insurance documents, car insurance documents and registration, health insurance documents, medical cards, medical records, any glass prescriptions or prescriptions at all for that matter, any type of employment records, tax returns, driver's license, social security card. You need your student ID. This is just as backup, a backup ID, student ID, military, DD 214. DD 214 is really important. Credit cards, your medical history, power of attorney, any type of wills, concealed and carry license if you have one, important phone numbers, title deeds, your marriage license, at least one statement from all of your financial accounts with the phone numbers and addresses, all your VA and military and VA records, but that's already stored. But that's a good thing. A thumb drive of videos of the house and all the content, a video of the in-house, all the rooms, all the drawers, all the closets. So you want everything, and also your vet record for your pets, including rabies and other information you would need if you were to have to go to a hotel and you have to take your pet. You guys, we take for granted, because we really live in safe conditions, and we take for granted a lot of things. And it's always an emergency when something like the California fires happen, or different other things. I'm thinking financially too, but that's a whole another story for a different day. But the thing about it is, if you prepare, being prepared is very important, because like I said, you never know when a fire or when some type of emergency can break out. And so if you have this checklist, it can help you. A lot of this stuff, like I said, they're all already scanned, or they're in the cloud, or they're stored. So just make sure that you know where all of this information is. That's very important. So today we're going to move on to our story of the day. That was the tip. The California wildfires, you guys, the catastrophic California wildfires that are right now ravaging California. And you know what they're saying? They're saying that this is the most destructive fire in the state's history. So the Palisades fire in particular has devastated over 5,300 structures, with economic losses potentially exceeding $150 billion. That's just one area. So far, the count, and it's still rising. Unfortunately, the death count is 16. last I heard, and more than 12,000 buildings have been destroyed across multiple blazes. So, of course, the governor has declared it a state of emergency, and he's mobilizing additional resources. I think they got some folks from Oregon, the fighters from Oregon, and Mexico, and there's a whole bunch of tension about the New York firefighters. They were denied, and maybe we'll look into that later. But amidst this crisis tension, there is some rift between the Los Angeles firefighter chief Kristen Crowley and Mayor Karen Bass. Now, Chief Crowley has publicly criticized recent budgets, stating that they have been severely limited with their ability to respond effectively to large-scale emergencies like these. And we have a video with some of that information on it, so we're just going to check out what Chief Crowley had to say.
So let's get to the big question, the budget. There's so much talk about it. It was cut 17 million. It was cut this. It wasn't cut at all, according to one newspaper. Was your budget for the fiscal year 2024-2025 cut?
I can tell you, I'm going to even go back further than that. Again, since day one, we've identified huge gaps in regard to our service delivery and our ability from our firefighters, boots on the ground, to do their jobs. Since day one, this is my third budget as we're going into 25-26. What I can tell you is we are still understaffed, we're still under-resourced, and we're still underfunded. So with that, whether it's 7 million, 10 million.
But was the budget cut, Chief?
Yes, it was cut. And it did impact our ability to provide service.
Let's talk about that memo. You sent a memo, a scathing memo, to the Board of Fire Commissioners where you expressed your concern that you were not going to be able to do your job. Your firefighters would not be able to respond adequately to a major emergency.
Okay, and we've cut that scene, but you got the gist of it, right? She is screaming that, hey, we didn't have enough resources to do the job to take care of our residents. However, Mayor Bass, on the other hand, she's emphasizing the need for unity during this crisis, urging all the city leaders to work together in order to manage the emergency. So let's take a look at that.
There's nothing that I will not do for the city where I was born and raised. And I know that that goes for all of us. So let me be clear about something. The fire chief and I are focused on fighting these fires and saving lives. And any differences that we might have will be worked out in private. But right now, our first and most important obligation to Angelenos is to get through this crisis. When the fire is out, there will be time for us to evaluate, but at the same time, we also must begin the recovery effort, and there'll be more to come from that in the next few days.
I stand by my comments this morning, especially in this time of crisis. That number one priority, with actually Chief McDonnell, Madam Mayor, and myself,
That's right,
are all on the same page. And I don't know how to overstate that at this point. That's why we're all here today, is to make sure that the community, the people that we serve, understand exactly where the three of us are. And I think I know we've clearly articulated that this morning. So thank you for the question.
Interesting dynamic there with LA Mayor Karen Bass now standing in the same room with Fire Chief Kristen Crowley, when yesterday there was a little bit of drama that happened with Kristen Crowley going to members of the media, including first our own Gigi Graciette telling the members of the media and Gigi that the city of LA, that failed the department, the city, when it came to preparing for these fires with some $17 million in cuts, that they didn't have enough resources, and that they failed the city.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, the mayor actually seemed to start the conversation with the fallout of that interview that aired here live on our air, saying, you know, what went wrong, the questions of what went wrong, because she knows she's going to be asked about that. She says that will come later, seemingly not wanting to talk about that now, knowing, of course, that that conversation was going to happen. She noted repeatedly that she and the chief are focused on saving lives, focused on fighting these fires, and any differences that they have will be worked out in private. The chief then, of course, coming in pretty much mirroring those words from the mayor, but then also noting that they did indeed already meet yesterday in private to discuss what she called shared priorities.
Okay, you guys, you saw it. You saw it there. I heard $17 million a shortfall of $17 million. Uh, that is crazy, given all that we did for a lot of people who weren't citizens of this country last year. But that's neither here nor there. What's important right now are the people who are suffering. What's important right now is to put politics aside. What's important right now is for us to all come together. I know there are like Airbnbs opening up to these families, and that's the one thing you love about America. When these things happen, we come together and we get the job done, and then we go back to fighting. So yeah, but I mean, these situations help give the opportunity to improve on things, because I'm sure after all of the fires have calmed down and after all the smoke has cleared, Gavin Newsom and all the politicians and all the first responders are going to rethink their emergency preparedness. We are definitely praying for those who are over in California. We are, the situation it still remains dire. I mean, they're still experiencing these strong winds. It's a nature thing, and in dry conditions. And when you have strong winds and dry conditions, it just makes everything worse. So we are extending our deepest sympathies and support to those who are affected. Now, if you are in immediate danger, what I'd like you to do is contact 211, the number 211, for assistance, and also start listening to the local news outlets. So I know I have family members who are about an hour away, but they're listening in, because you never know where what's the next place for these fires. They have some fires contained, but they're still fighting the good fight. So make sure you're listening to those local news outlets. And for all of you in California, make sure you're paying attention to the official channels for the latest updates and safety information. And if you have family in California, I don't care if you haven't talked to them in years, decades, whatever the case may be, now's the time for a phone call. Now's the time for you to reach out to loved ones. That checklist I share, make sure you share that checklist with others. That checklist isn't just for you, because we never know. We never know when it could be us. And that is all I have for you today. Really, I want to just thank you for joining me. I'm going to take a sip. Again, let's get prepared. Let's ensure that if you know someone, if you're a veteran who has cancer and you were in those locations, make sure you call your service officer. Go to your local veteran service organization. Go to your local hospital to make sure that you are getting the care that you need. If you don't know where to start, that 800 number will help you. And by all means, do not wait. We always say we're going to do something, and we never do. But again, our thoughts and prayers and support go out to those that are involved in the catastrophic wildfires in California. Many people have lost their home. We ask for God's protection and support for the people that are there in the fight. And I'm going to sign off right here. As always, make sure you keep your heart full and your coffee strong. See you next time.